The countdown clock has stopped, but the mission continues. Just when space enthusiasts worldwide were marking their calendars for February 28th, SpaceX has officially announced a shift in plans. Flight 8 is now targeting Monday, March 3rd, and there's a lot more happening behind the scenes than you might realize. While we're all eager to see Starship soar again, this timeline adjustment actually makes perfect sense when you look at the current status of hardware preparations. As of yesterday morning, Ship 34 hadn't even made its journey to the launch site, with the transport stand only recently arriving at Megabay 2. Even more telling, the payload installation process remains incomplete, a critical step that can't be rushed if we want this flight to achieve its objectives. But here's why this delay might actually be a blessing in disguise. SpaceX is methodically working through their checklist with the FAA, conducting extensive CHOPSTICK system testing, and potentially setting up for something truly historic, the first ever catching attempt. Meanwhile, SpaceX isn't sitting idle. Just hours ago, they successfully launched Intuitive Machines' Athena lunar lander on a Falcon 9, marking another crucial step in NASA's lunar exploration plans. With Blue Ghost already orbiting the moon and scheduled to land on March 2nd, next month is shaping up to be what I'm calling March Lunar Madness. This is Elon Musk 24 hours. Let's dive right in. The reality behind the delay. When SpaceX made the announcement on their X account that they're now targeting to launch Starship's 8th flight test as soon as Monday, March 3rd, I felt that familiar mix of disappointment and excitement. Disappointment because we all want to see Starship fly as soon as possible, but excitement because this new timeline suggests SpaceX is being thorough, and thoroughness leads to success. The 3-day shift might seem minor, but it speaks volumes about SpaceX's commitment to getting every detail right. Remember Flight 7? That flawless mission came after meticulous preparation and attention to every component. This same level of care is evident in how they're approaching Flight 8. The hardware situation tells the complete story. Booster 15 has already made its journey to the launch pad, a massive achievement in itself considering the engineering marvel that is the Super Heavy booster. But Ship 34, the upper stage of our beloved Starship, is still undergoing final preparations. As of February 26th, we saw the ship transport stand being moved to the Megabay 2 door, a clear signal that S-34 is nearly ready for transport. But there's a crucial question hanging in the air. Will the payload be installed before or after S-34 arrives at the launch site? For those new to our channel, this isn't just any payload. Flight 8 represents the next evolution in Starship's capabilities, with systems that will be essential for future orbital operations. Getting these components properly integrated and tested isn't something you rush. Not when you're building the future of space transportation. The technical journey ahead. Let's break down what needs to happen before Starship Flight 8 can take to the skies. Once S-34 arrives at the launch site, the team faces a complex sequence of operations. First, the massive ship must be lifted with precision, a delicate dance of engineering where a vehicle taller than the Statue of Liberty is positioned exactly where it needs to be. Then comes stabilization, ensuring that this technological marvel is perfectly aligned with Booster 15. Next, the teams will prep the vehicle for fueling, a process that involves checking countless sensors, valves, and systems that will handle cryogenic liquids at temperatures cold enough to freeze air solid. Then comes a battery of final system checks, where every subsystem from avionics to thermal protection is verified. This isn't just a checklist. It's a symphony of engineering excellence that requires time, care, and absolute precision. When you consider this reality, the March 3rd launch date isn't just reasonable, it's optimistic. And there's another critical factor at play, the ongoing work with the Federal Aviation Administration. Following Flight 7, SpaceX has been addressing all major issues identified in the root cause investigation. They've tackled debris concerns and other technical matters, but the final step remains, either officially closing the mishap investigation or securing explicit flight approval. As of this recording, neither SpaceX nor the FAA has provided a definitive update on this process. This regulatory component is crucial. No matter how ready the hardware might be, that final regulatory green light is essential before Starship can roar to life. A chance for greater success. While this delay means SpaceX won't match last year's record of launching in 2 consecutive months, December and January, there's a silver lining that's too significant to ignore. These extra days provide the opportunity for better, more thorough preparations, increasing the chances of another successful flight. And success builds on success. Each triumphant mission brings us closer to a fully operational Starship system, capable of regular orbital flights and eventually missions to the Moon and Mars. And here's where things get really interesting. While we wait for Flight 8, SpaceX has been conducting extensive testing on the CHOPSTICK system at the launch tower. We've observed closing, opening, lifting, lowering, and rotating operations, all essential movements for what might eventually be the first ever catching attempt. Imagine that moment, a rocket booster returning from space, guided precisely into the waiting arms of the launch tower. It would be a feat of engineering unprecedented in human history, and every test we're seeing now is building toward that milestone. The infrastructure upgrades continue as well. Additional fuel tanks are being installed, the CHOPSTICK system at Pad B is being repositioned, and an intriguing steel frame structure has recently appeared nearby. What is this structure for? The speculation among our community has been fascinating, from additional support systems to new recovery mechanisms. Whatever its purpose, it's clear evidence that SpaceX continues to evolve its facilities at an astonishing pace. Record-breaking potential. Here's a thought that should excite every space enthusiast. Pushing Flight 8 to March might actually help SpaceX set an even more impressive record. If Flight 8 succeeds in early March and SpaceX maintains their accelerated development pace, Flight 9 could potentially launch as early as late March. This would achieve something unprecedented: 2 Starship flights in a single month. That milestone would eclipse even last year's impressive achievement of 2 launches in consecutive months. It would represent a dramatic acceleration in the Starship program's cadence, bringing us that much closer to regular orbital operations. The pace of progress at Starbase is nothing short of revolutionary. Remember when rockets were used once and discarded? SpaceX changed that paradigm with Falcon 9. Remember when Mars seemed like a distant dream? Starship is making it an achievable goal within our lifetime. So yes, I'm still excited. I'm still waiting with anticipation. And I hope you are too. This isn't just about witnessing a rocket launch. It's about watching the future of humanity as a multiplanetary species take shape before our eyes. NASA's lunar renaissance. While we await Starship's next flight, the broader space ecosystem continues to advance at an extraordinary pace. Just yesterday, on February 26th at 7:16 p.m. Eastern, SpaceX demonstrated once again why they're the world's premier launch provider. A Falcon 9 thundered skyward from Launch Complex 39A, the same hallowed ground that once sent Apollo astronauts to the Moon. This rocket carried 2 precious payloads: Intuitive Machines' lunar lander, Athena, and NASA's Lunar Trailblazer orbiter. The mission was nothing short of flawless. Booster B-1083 touched down on the drone ship with pinpoint precision, marking its 9th successful landing. But even more impressive, this was the 100th successful landing on this particular drone ship. 100 perfect touchdowns on a floating platform in the middle of the ocean. A feat that seemed impossible just a decade ago is now routine for SpaceX. About 43 minutes after liftoff, Intuitive Machines' lunar lander separated from the upper stage, followed by the other rideshare payloads. From here, Athena begins a week-long journey to the Moon, following a meticulously planned 16-step sequence that will culminate in a landing attempt on March 6th in the Mons Mouton region. This mission carries enormous significance. On board Athena are 10 cutting-edge NASA science instruments specifically designed to search for water ice and other resources near the Moon's South Pole. These resources aren't just scientific curiosities. They're the building blocks of a sustainable human presence on the lunar surface. Meanwhile, the Lunar Trailblazer orbiter will work from high altitude, gathering critical data that will complement Athena's surface investigations. Together, these missions represent key stepping stones toward establishing a permanent human foothold on our celestial neighbor. The power of collaboration. This mission marks the second major collaboration between SpaceX Intuitive Machines, and NASA, a partnership that's proving to be extraordinarily fruitful for space exploration. Their first joint effort came on February 15th last year with the IM-1 mission carrying the Nova C Odysseus lander. That mission, while historic, faced significant challenges that culminated in a dramatic off-nominal landing. But that's the nature of pioneering. You learn, you adapt, you improve. And that's exactly what this partnership has done. They've brought a wealth of experience from the first mission to ensure the second attempt has the best possible chance of success. NASA's Associate Administrator for the Science Mission Directorate, Nikki Fox, captured the spirit of these efforts perfectly before the flight, saying, "I'm very excited to see the science that our tech demonstrations deliver as we prepare for humanity's return to the moon and the journey to Mars." Both the IM-2 mission and NASA's Blue Ghost mission fall under the agency's Commercial Lunar Payload Services, CLPS program, an innovative approach that leverages private sector capabilities to advance lunar exploration. These are just two of the 4 CLPS missions currently planned, following Astrobotic's Peregrine and IM-1 launched early last year. And according to Nikki Fox, there's much more to come. It's really great to see it coming to fruition. We really do want to get on a regular cadence of about 2 launches a year, 2 selections of new missions a year, and really keep that momentum going. This approach represents a fundamental shift in how we explore space. Rather than relying solely on massive, decade-long government programs, NASA is creating an ecosystem of commercial partners who can move quickly, innovate rapidly, and drive costs down through competition. March Lunar Madness. The confluence of these missions means March will be an extraordinary month for lunar exploration. Blue Ghost, already in lunar orbit, has been transmitting breathtaking images and videos of the moon thanks to its close-range camera. The latest footage shows the lander gliding slowly above the lunar surface, with glimpses of its own structure visible in the frame. These images aren't just visually stunning. They're providing scientists with valuable data about the lunar terrain and environment. Blue Ghost is scheduled to land on March 2nd at approximately 2:34 a.m. Central, 3:34 a.m. Eastern, just one day before Starship Flight 8's target launch date. This landing will be a critical moment to watch, as the final descent to the lunar surface has proven challenging for many previous missions. Given Blue Ghost's smooth journey so far, both Firefly Aerospace and NASA have reason for optimism. Once safely on the surface, the lander will have approximately 2 weeks to carry out its science mission before the unforgiving lunar night brings operations to a close. Then just 4 days later, Athena will attempt its own lunar landing on March 6th. 2 lunar landings in the span of a single week would be unprecedented in the modern era of space exploration, a clear sign that we're entering a new golden age of lunar science and exploration. These robotic missions are doing more than just scientific research. They're preparing the way for NASA's Artemis program and its goal of returning humans to the lunar surface. Each successful robotic mission provides valuable data, tests new technologies, and helps reduce the risk for eventual human landings. In the broader context of international space activities, these missions also represent America's commitment to maintaining a leadership position in lunar exploration. As competition with China intensifies in this domain, successful CLPS missions give the United States a significant strategic advantage. SpaceX, the enabler of dreams. It's impossible to discuss these lunar missions without acknowledging the massive role SpaceX has played in making them possible. Last year's IM-1, this year's IM-2, and even the Blue Ghost mission all relied on SpaceX rockets for their journey to space. When it comes to lunar transportation, no company provides more frequent, flexible, and reliable launch services than SpaceX. Some critics might argue that SpaceX's involvement is minimal, merely providing the initial launch. But this perspective misses a fundamental truth. Without a flawless launch, none of these missions could even begin. A smooth, precise delivery to the correct transfer orbit is the foundation upon which every successful lunar mission is built. SpaceX continues to provide this critical service with a reliability that remains unmatched in the industry. And SpaceX isn't stopping with these support missions. Later this year, they'll launch yet another lunar mission, Griffin, aboard the powerful Falcon Heavy. This mission will further explore lunar resources with a particular focus on water ice deposits that could sustain future astronauts during long-duration stays on the moon. Beyond supporting NASA's commercial partners, SpaceX is gaining invaluable experience for its own historic endeavor, the Human Landing System (HLS) version of Starship. This advanced variant will be the vehicle that finally returns American astronauts to the lunar surface after more than half a century's absence. Every launch, every mission, every test builds SpaceX's capabilities and brings us closer to that momentous occasion when boots once again press into the lunar regolith. The synergy between these various programs creates a momentum that's accelerating humanity's return to deep space exploration. The future beckons. As we look toward March with its promise of Starship Flight 8 and multiple lunar landings, it's worth taking a moment to appreciate the extraordinary era we're living through. We're witnessing the transformation of space access and exploration at a pace that would have seemed impossible just a decade ago. The delay of Starship Flight 8, while disappointing in the short term, is part of a methodical, careful approach that will ultimately yield greater successes. SpaceX has consistently demonstrated that doing things right is more important than doing them quickly, though they manage to do both with remarkable frequency. The hardware continues to evolve, the facilities grow more capable, and the team gains experience with each test and launch. Meanwhile, the ecosystem of lunar exploration flourishes, with multiple missions preparing to touch down on the lunar surface in the coming days. This isn't just about rockets and landers, it's about humanity's reach extending beyond our planet. It's about the resources, knowledge, and capabilities we're developing that will one day allow people to live and work on other worlds. For all of us watching these developments, we're not just spectators, we're witnesses to history. Each launch, each landing, each technical milestone represents another step on a journey that will ultimately change the course of human civilization. So yes, Flight 8 may be delayed until March 3rd, but the journey continues unabated. The pace of progress remains extraordinary, and the future has never looked more promising. Are you still excited? Are you still watching and waiting for these historic achievements? Let me know in the comments section below. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Elon Musk 24 Hours to stay current with all the latest developments in SpaceX's remarkable journey. Thank you for joining me today, and remember, as we look to the stars, we're not just seeing distant points of light, we're seeing humanity's future home. The journey continues as we stand on the precipice of these historic moments. Starship Flight 8, Blue Ghost's landing, and Athena's lunar journey, we're witnessing the acceleration of humanity's return to deep space. Whether Flight 8 launches on March 3rd or faces further adjustments, each step in this process brings us closer to a future where interplanetary travel becomes routine. The setbacks are just as valuable as the triumphs. They're the necessary learning experiences that forge the path forward. This moment isn't just about SpaceX or NASA. It's about our collective future among the stars. Every launch, every test, every mission plants a flag in history that says, "We were here, we push forward, we refuse to stay bound to one world." If you're as passionate about this journey as I am, drop a comment below with your thoughts on these developments. Are you excited for March Lunar Madness? What aspect of Flight 8 are you most looking forward to? Hit that like button if you found this analysis valuable, and make sure you're subscribed to Elon Musk 24 Hours with notifications turned on. We'll be covering these historic events as they unfold, bringing you the latest updates and in-depth analysis you won't find anywhere else. Thanks for joining me today on this cosmic journey. Until next time, keep looking up. The future is brighter than ever.